Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cinema Room podcast, the first one of 2020. The Spoilercast podcast where we talk about movies, video games, TV show seasons, and we spoil the shit out of them. I am one of your hosts, Tyler, joined as always by James.
As always, how's it going?
Very good, my friend. Very good. I'm excited to be back for 2020 and a couple of cinema connoisseurs and talk about a whole bunch of movies. Today's a bit different. Normally, it's one game, one TV show, one movie, and we go into detail and spoil the shit out of it. Now, as during our time off, there's been 1,000,000,001 different things that have come out, movies, TV shows included. We've got a lot to cover. And there's a couple of important TV shows we really need to cover, so they'll have their own episodes. But then there's all these Oscar movies. There's Jojo Rabbit. There's The Irishman. There's 1917. There's Ford vs. Ferrari. There's all these amazing films. How in the world are we going to cover them all? Because in 2020, the only thing we cover in Cinema Room is brand new movies or TV shows, or at least recent event ones. We're not going back and doing old stuff unless something really important comes up. So today, in light of the Oscars being in the next 2 weeks when this comes out, I believe it's like the 5th of February or something.
Yeah, maybe.
In light of that, we're doing a Cinema Room special for the Oscars where we're going to be talking about and covering all 9 films that are up for Best Picture. Not all categories, not going through every category of the Oscars, just discussing all 9 films that are up for Best Picture at the Oscars. There's 9 of them. I've seen all 9 of them. James, how many have you seen of the 9?
How many have I seen of the 9? I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I've seen 5.
You've seen 5?
I meant to see 6, but I think I've seen 5. So,
right.
What I want you to do, though, is, because I think this would be interesting, I want you to give me the names of the ones I haven't seen as we go through them, and I want to give my best description of the film that I haven't seen to see if I can guess what the movie's about, and then you can tell me.
Yeah. I'll go through just the list before we get into everything, and then the Patreon list. But the 9 movies are, and we're going to spend time breaking down each movie and talking about it, and then at the end of the episode, James and I will give our decision on what we believe is Best Picture and should win Best Picture of the Oscars. Now, the 9 movies up for Best Picture of the Oscars are Ford vs. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. Now, I've seen all 9. You've seen The Irishman?
I have seen The Irishman.
You've seen Joker? You've seen Marriage Story?
I have not, no.
You didn't see Marriage? What the fuck?
No. Which would be like the easiest one to me to see.
That's the easiest one. It's on Netflix. I told you. I'm like, see Marriage Story.
I ran out of time. I was going to watch it last night.
What do you mean you ran out of time, but then you started screaming, threatening to cut your girlfirm's tits off?
Yeah, true. So, I did do that. But I got to make that paper, son.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true. You've seen 1917?
Yep.
You've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? That's 4. Have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you saw that. Oh,
yes,
that's great.
I did see that.
That's great. That's awesome. Fantastic. Okay. I'll say this to start. All 9 movies are fucking amazing. There is not a bad film on here, and that's rare. Sometimes, usually there's like an Oscar movie or 2 that I'm like, why is that there? That's bullshit. But these are 9 phenomenal movies. I absolutely love all of them. So I'm excited to get and talk about them. Obviously, we've done Cinema Rooms on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Joker, so we're probably not going to spend a whole lot of time breaking them down, but we'll be able to just kind of bring them in and compare them to the other 9 movies when making a decision when it comes to the end. If you want to hear our thoughts breaking down those 2 movies, we've got separate Cinema Rooms you can go listen to. Gives us a chance to talk about the other 7, and especially the 3 that we've both seen and haven't discussed. All right. Before we get into anything further, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're listening to here and you want to hear more, head over to patreon.com/AsAlways, where you get a week's early access to this podcast, the Cinema Room Podcast, for just $1 a month. You become an As Always member. You get all that. Plus, exclusive access to the Clubhouse Podcast, the best podcast on the internet that's on every week that the As Always podcast isn't on, and every week on Patreon that, it's hard to say names, I forget our names, we've changed names. The Cinema Room Podcast isn't on. It's amazing. You'll get podcasts every week. It's amazing. Go do it. Plus heaps of awesome perks, like being one of our producers for As Always Entertainment, which is a really special perk. Of course, we've got to thank our producers, Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Seth, Smexy Dork, and Real Cinema and Hawkins, a.k.a. H+12. We couldn't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate the hell out of you. James, I realise I haven't selected the list in the old version, so the names are still cut off.
Oh, no.
How do I change that?
Go do it. So, in the Patreon manager...
Yep.
There should just be right at the very top a thing that says, we have a new version of... Oh, no, wait, I'm on the new one. Hang on. Let me click the new one.
Oh, yeah, no, it's all good. We're good. I've got it.
Found it? Take me.
Yeah, we're sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, we're good. I'm able to read the list. Because at the $5 tier and above, you get your name read off on the podcast list. And at the start and at the end of every single podcast, we have 3 of them. It's a phenomenal perk. People love it. And you come up with creative names. And we laugh at you. It's beautiful. So again, to thank the Sweet Vintage lads of the $5 tier and above, we have Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, Real Cinema and Hawkins, a.k.a H+12, Seth, Ballsack47, Casey Wood, Pink Flame 313, Adam Sundling, SupterTuberEddie, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Jesper Olsen, Lumistrad, DIDDLOTIC, Murray 5380, Cock, The Creed, Fat Fuck Cuck, Brendan Obiki Overlord, RAVJAI, Ikraik Gaming, Benedict Parker returns, Max H. Gene, Owen Brayne, Zeek Collins, Son of a Bitch, Ogeaidogo, Noah Watts, FuriousCoco, Sab 2557, Nick Miller, the ACMJS, Travonoski, Kacper Korol, Kassassin, Kyle, S. Jaws, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mori, Ginko Swag, That's How It Be Sometimes, Master Bass, Ashton is a big fan of Mace Windu, the character, Amir the Synth Potato, the actor, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Joe A.K.A FoundedScarab, Iron Man to the Dads, Luca, Alfie Rowsell, Brian Ford, Fishy, and Ben Fryer. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for supporting the podcast and, as always, entertainment. All right, James, let's get the fuck into this episode of the Cinema Room podcast.
Do it. Bit of
the
gaming.
First of the year. I want to start with a movie you haven't seen. I'm going to go down the list, just in the order that the Oscars Twitter account posted a picture of all the categories. That's how I've saved it on my phone. The first movie we're going to break down, Ford versus Ferrari. Ford vs. Ferrari. Now, James, tell me, what do you think of Ford vs. Ferrari, a movie you have not seen?
Is that a sequel to Cars 3?
No.
It's not?
No,
okay.
No,
in which case, not interested. Don't like the sound of that.
Okay.
Do the cars have eyes, at least?
No, they don't.
Are they just real cars?
Yeah, they're real cars.
Who wins, the Ford or the Ferrari? Are they fighting? Is it Transformers?
No, James.
For fuck's sake.
People are already clicking off the podcast. They're like, "Oh wow, I wonder what this is going to be about." And
no, don't click off the podcast. I'm goofing off. Trust me, I'm a proper film connoisseur, as we both are. This is an hour.
And that's why you've seen that's why you've seen them all, right? You saw all the movies.
Yeah.
You couldn't even see the one that's just on Netflix. You fuck.
No. I went onto Netflix and I saw Stranger Things 3, and I had to watch it all again.
Of course, for the 15th time, right?
Yeah, of course. I give it a weekly rewatch.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. So what's Ford versus Ferrari about? Can you spoil it? Who wins? Ford or Ferrari?
I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but I'm gonna go in depth with it, right? But I'll give you the background of the movie. So, the movie Ford versus Ferrari is about It's set in 66. Well, it's set over a few years, but in the 1960s, and it's starring Christian Bale and Matt Damon, and it is Ford coming up with, getting pretty much into the racing business, and the race is called Le Mans in France. Like, I guess I'm not a car guy. I'm not a race. In fact, I hate car movies. James, I hate car movies. I hate racing movies. All movies about race cars and shit. I fucking hate it. I hate it. But Ford versus Ferrari. Is that a really
specific genre? How many racing movies exist?
There's a lot of racing movies.
Really?
There is.
You got
Fast and Furious isn't a racing movie, but I hate all the Fast and Furious
Disney
movies.
Pixar cars.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's it.
There's racing movies, James. There are racing movies. I just don't find them because the race, you're like, the guy's gonna win. You know, fucking the guy's gonna win. We get it. And even if they lose, it's like, it's a car race, so it doesn't matter, does it? Like, I never care.
What about regular racing movies? Do you like those?
Like what?
Racing Stripes.
What is Racing Stripes?
Have you never seen Racing Stripes?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty good, to be honest.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, anyway, James, Ford versus Ferrari is
better than Racing Stripes.
Yeah, so Matt Damon plays Carroll Shelby, who's a guy that was the first American to win Le Mans, and Le Mans is a 24-hour long race.
Okay.
And he's now... Ford are now getting into this business where they're in a bad spot. Henry Ford II's in charge of the company at this point, and he's pretty much a real cunt. And wants to be successful, and they realize they need to step up their game and make race cars. They want to beat Ford are trying to do is they want to beat Ferrari at Le Mans. That's their goal. That is why they're getting into the racing business. They're legitimizing themselves. They want to make cars that people look at and they're like, Ford is a winning brand. So you kind of go between the perspectives of the inner workings of Ford and what's going on there, and then you go to Carroll Shelby's Matt Damon, who's this winning race car driver. And he's friends with this guy, Ken Miles, played by Christian Bale. Now, Christian Bale's a mechanic, works on cars, and is a racer on the side. Doesn't really make any money for it, but he fought in the war. Christian Bale, the actor. Ken Miles, he's a British guy, but he lives in LA, and he races cars for Shelby's, car group, like his racing brand, I don't know. For his, because Shelby runs a car dealership mechanic place as well, like his own sort of custom cars and shit. And they start working alongside Ford, and they want Carroll Shelby, as in Matt Damon, to help them with designing and building the perfect Ford race car. Now, Shelby doesn't drive anymore a race. He hasn't raced for a lot of years, and he's not, the standard high-level racer of that modern time. And Ken Miles is the guy. He's a natural gifted racer, and Shelby believes in him, recruits him, and wants Shelby to help him design the car and race the car that Ford's going to send to Le Mans. Now, so much drama happens because, one, Ken Miles is English, and also really looks after himself, doesn't give a fuck about Ford. In fact, thinks Ford's shit and makes shit cars, and tells the Ford guys that all the time. They don't really like him at all and want him involved. So there's a lot of you see the inner politics in the background that plays out through the whole film. Now, that's the background story. I'm not going to spoil what happens. I honestly want you to see this movie because it is phenomenal. The cars, you get... I don't know anything about cars, but you get such an understanding of of how the cars operate, what they want to get out of the cars, and they make the cars characters. Or they make the main car they're building, a character in the sense of what you want to see out of it in the film. And the way they film the races and the way they film the driving the car, they capture every angle you could possibly think of. You can see... And as well, they also got probably top 3 best actors on the planet to be the racer, to express what it's like to be in the car, and that's Christian Bale. He murders in this movie. He fucking
Christian Bale, the
murders.
Actor,
Christian Bale, the actor,
people while on set.
Yeah. He murders in this movie. And you don't think... I hear people still today talk about how they don't like Christian Bale because he screamed at someone on the Terminator set. I'm like, I bet you're still the cunt that listens to Michael... You're still you're the fuckface that listens to Michael Jackson music. You listen to fucking Michael Jackson music and you don't think you're a fucking hypocrite, but Christian Bale yelled at a guy on a set, so you don't like him. You're a fucking hypocrite.
That's so funny though when he yelled at that guy. I fucking love that clip.
Yeah, I don't give a shit that an actor yelled at a guy. I don't care at all. I do not care. He stole that movie. He's one of the best actors in the world, and he stole the movie, man. He performed that so good, and the way you believed in who this character was. Quite a selfish person. He has a wife and a son. He really cares about them, but he doesn't give a fuck about this Ford at all. He cares about him racing. He cares about him winning and him designing the car and him fitting the car because the thing about Ken Miles' character is he believes he knows better than everybody when it comes to cars and everything. So, like, he believes he knows better than Ford. He believes he knows better than everyone involved in this movie, every race. He thinks he's the best. So it does make him a little selfish, which is kind of a part of his character arc. But you do like him better than Ford anyway. So, like, because all these people at Ford are fucking dicks. Or at least most of them are. And movie goes on and there's a few races in there, but the way they film Le Mans at the end, it's a long set because it's a 24-hour race. It's a good 40-minute section of the movie, 45 minutes of the movie, and it doesn't drag on at all. In fact, it kind of goes fast. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed watching the racing movie. It actually builds tension because there's so many different things you realize that can happen in one of these races, right? That I obviously don't watch it, so I don't appreciate. But I'm also not invested in any of the drivers. Whereas, like when you're invested in this Ken Miles character, as well as Shelby, who's off to the side, who's running the team, and then Ford. The Ford guys are trying to interfere because they want to have a good image. They don't care about. They think they can have a good image and also win the race. It's like Assassin's Creed. I'm sorry. It's like
I don't much want that clip. That fucking out of context. I can't take that clip. It's like Assassin's Creed.
It's like you were making an Assassin's Creed game and like if Ashraf was explaining to them, we need a bicycle for this because we're going to have this game, it's going to be amazing, but we have bike in it, and that's what's going to make it. And they're like, no. Do that game, we like your idea for your game, but you're going to have this character that we've got this lesbian trans woman to make up. Like, that's pretty much what Ford does. They're like, oh, I know you want Ken Miles to drive there, Shelby, but we're going to tell you who we think should actually be driving it and winning the races and shit.
Oh, I hate them.
And Shelby's like, then get used to losing. So that's a whole lot of turmoil and tension throughout the whole movie. It's so amazingly done. I loved the characters. I loved the movie. The way it's filmed is spectacular. And again, Christian Bale steals the whole movie. He really does steal the movie. And there's so many nuances between the relationship with Shelby and Miles, and the fact that it is based on a true story. It's quite amazing how that all went down and all happened. It's emotional. I had a few tears at points, and that was really great, and there's a lot of like motifs that come up and repeat themselves throughout the film as well, and all the characters have great development. There's nice full circle moments for Shelby and Miles and a few of the other supporting cast. So it's really great, dude. You'll genuinely, I think you'll love the movie. I really do.
You've sold me on it. I'll have to watch it. I'll give it a watch at some point.
Yeah, because I was a bit
Sounds
skeptical.
good.
I'm like, I don't want to watch a fucking movie about car races. I don't want it.
Oh, well,
I'm not interested. I love Christian Bale and Matt Damon, but I'm not interested. But as soon as I start, I was in straight away. Like the movie gets you in real quick. It's just I've never seen a racing movie filmed that way, where you feel like you're like right there in the car with the character. It's really well done.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff.
It's really well done. What is the next movie? Is The Irishman.
I've seen this one.
You've seen this one, The Irishman.
I've seen this one.
We'll spend a bit of time on the ones we've both seen, obviously, because... and by the way, if you don't know, we, like I said at the start of the podcast, we spoil the shit out of things. This podcast, because we're covering 9 movies, we're probably not going to spoil endings of things, but we're going to break down the movies in depth. So you're going to know well and truly what the movie's about and the tone and vibe it gives, but I'm not going to tell you how the movies end or anything like we probably would normally do.
Yeah.
Except Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Joke I've already talked about, but yeah. So The Irishman, James, Martin Scorsese's latest film, real cinema at its finest.
Cinema, yeah.
What did you think of The Irishman overall, and where do you think it stands with Scorsese's other mob films such as Goodfellas and Casino?
Well, I've never seen Casino, so I couldn't tell you. But
Okay.
I really fucking loved it a lot. I think I liked it. I think I liked it more than Goodfellas. I think that might just be due to the age of Goodfellas, so it was easier for me to just get into a new film of the same sort of genre potentially, since I had no connection to Goodfellas. I hadn't watched it when it came out or watched it as a kid or whatever. It was completely new to me when I watched it, a few months ago. But I mean, it's been a while since I fucking watched it. But I remember I love the way, I love all of the performances. I think it's great. I love the passage of time. It's always fun to see movies, and Scorsese does this a lot, where he'll start, at one point in time, and he'll sort of go through these characters' lives. And I really, really like that. That's great. And the technology they used to show them to de-age, these actors and everything was brilliant. I think it looked great. It doesn't take you out of the film. It looks really convincing. And that's really cool. And it was really fucking good. It didn't feel like it dragged out at all. Like, I didn't feel like when I was watching it, I was like, oh, this bit's it's dragging out a little bit. I wish it would speed up a bit. Like, it all felt really very captivating and engaging from start to finish. And by the time I was at the end, I was like, oh, wow, the thing's over already. And it's a long fucking film, but it didn't feel as long as you'd expect it to, which I think is great. It just goes to show the great pacing and structure of the film. So it was really good. I really fucking liked it. And I think it's up there with, I'd have to watch all of Scorsese's films, but of the ones that I've seen, this is up there for sure.
Yeah, nice. No, I really enjoyed it. I thought The Irishman was a really fantastic movie. I probably don't like it as much as you. I don't think I think it's his worst mob film. Like, I like Casino and Goodfellas probably significantly better than this. I felt partly was I love Al Pacino. I love Joe Pesci. I love Robert De Niro. They're amazing actors, and they're amazing in these movies. I thought the de-aging thing would be fine.
Yeah.
But the reality was Robert De Niro was playing a guy significantly younger than himself at points, especially this movie, and he still looked and walked and moved and talked like a 70-year-old man.
Yeah, but I kind of like it though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think the walking thing is a bit. Yeah, I agree with that one. Because when you see him like just walking,
when he
and he's
beats
like,
up that
like
guy at the grocery store, the corner
like,
shop, and he beats up a guy for his daughter.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, bro, you're 80.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a 34-year-old man.
And he barely moves, and he's like
I do agree with that.
The stiffest jab of all time.
Yeah,
and then
I
the guy
agree.
just like flips over. Yeah.
I mean, I can overlook that personally because I think that their
I can
performances
too,
are
but
great,
it definitely is noticeable. Like, I didn't notice it.
Sure. Yeah, I did.
And it was a bit long. I also think
so?
I actually felt like, chop off 45 minutes that movie.
Oh, really? Because that's how I felt with Goodfellas. I think it was Goodfellas.
Oh, see, Goodfellas to me went like so fast. Goodfellas, every time I watch Goodfellas, it goes fast to me. Every time I watch it, I think it goes fast. I enjoy the setup of the world of Goodfellas better, and I think the thing I like about Goodfellas is it's old. I like because it makes you feel like I'm watching something from close to then. And it feels there's something authentic about it being an older film, and especially with the actors and characters and the way it's done. Like, I don't think mob films like Scorsese ones work as well now.
Okay,
it's just it's almost too colorful and everything looked too nice. I was like, wow, this is so weird. Like, it feels like a
shit camera that's like
I don't know. Like, it almost felt like I was watching. Well, it felt like I was watching a movie where they were wearing costumes and had CGI'd faces, not watching something authentic. I think that was part of what was missing to it. But don't get me wrong, I sound like I'm complaining about it. The story was so awesome. And it was engaging. There were great twists and turns. But I do think, again, with twists and turns, if you've seen Scorsese's mob films, and you've seen, not even his mob films, if you've seen enough Scorsese movies, you kind of know what twists are going to come. You can't, so you know what's going to happen, but it doesn't take away from how good De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino played along with those twists, and they still felt impactful, which is what was so good about the movie. It's like there's a moment with De Niro, and I think I'm talking about a big moment near the end of the film, where he has to kill someone, and even though I saw this turn coming,
you see it from a mile away.
it still had a massive impact on me because it had a massive impact on the character. And you felt that. And De Niro's performance was so good that you still felt that in the film. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think this is a really fucking great film, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. But I do think people are. I mean, if you enjoy it, then you enjoy it, and if it's your favorite film of the lot, then that's fair. But I don't think it. I don't know. I just find it a bit strange that people hold it in such high regard. I don't know whether it's just because it's Scorsese, but as much as I think it's a brilliant film and it's one of my favorites of last year, I don't. It's not like one of my favorite films of all time, and I don't think it's this incredible like masterpiece that has taken cinema to the next level or whatever. And like this is Scorsese's like he's really outdone himself or whatever. Because I don't think it's his best film, but I mean I get why it's so good, and I think
he
it's
made
so good
Wolf
as
of
well,
Wall
but...
Street. He made Shutter Island.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Wolf
like,
of Wall Street is probably my favorite Scorsese film. I think of the ones that I've seen.
It's my second favorite, and it's pretty close. That and Goodfellas are like neck and neck good.
Mm-hmm. And I like this is a great fucking movie. Like when you compare it to other films that come out, obviously this is far above those, but I don't think it deserves quite some of the praise that everyone's giving it as like this incredible piece of cinema that can't be touched, because I feel it's something you see on Twitter a lot. There's a lot of people are really all for this movie, and it's like I get it, but also I don't quite get some of the incredibly high praise that people are giving it. But
can I be controversial? Can I be really controversial here?
You can be.
And again, I love this movie. I was gonna say this at the end of the podcast. And I love this movie. All 9 films are phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Irishman's my least favorite of the 9 films.
Ooh, well, even Joker. You prefer Joker more than the Irishman?
I would rather. I could watch Joker way before I'd watch Irishman. I would prefer Joker to the Irishman.
Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that.
Joker's high up on the list. It's not top 3, but it's high on the list.
I think Joker's my bottom. And then Irishman probably above that. Why are we ranking? I'm not going to start ranking.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to rank them, but I was just going to say that I went through the 9 to have a look yesterday because I was thinking, what would I pick as the best one? And I was like, do you know what's funny? Irishman's the bottom. Irishman's the bottom.
That's fair. I get it. I think it's a great film, but I don't think it does anything so different and new that it deserves higher praise.
These are 9 of the best films I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So it's not a knock on the Irishman. Irishman's up there. But these are... Dude, Parasite? Like, are you... There's movies on here that are, like, so fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, there's some good films on here. 1917? Are you joking? What a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. It's... Yeah, so... There's
I just think it's Irishman is a very safe Scorsese film. Like
that's a great description. It's a very safe
Scorsese film. Like Scorsese can't really fail, but it's not.
It's the Force Awakens of Scorsese films.
I'm sure he loves
would you say very good and safe? I know how much he loves those movies. Very good and very good, very safe.
Yeah.
We're saying a lot of controversial things in this podcast, but was there
Let's compare them to Marvel movies?
Yeah, he would love that. Oh boy, Scorsese would love that.
He would love that.
Is there any? What's your standout moment of The Irishman?
Ooh.
Was there any standout performer? Obviously De Niro, but
yeah, I mean, they're all fucking brilliant.
Pesci, this is probably one of my favorite Pesci performances.
He's
because he played a very different, because he usually plays the same sort of, guy that's a bit you don't know what's coming, but he's played a very mature character in this, which isn't quite what you used to from Pesci. But I thought he was really good in this movie. He stood out to me as really good, and Al Pacino's good in fucking everything. He's so ridiculously good. What a legend! This is a film full of legends, and it felt like it was. I want to come up with analogies for everything, and I'm really being controversial with these analogies. It's like you're.
It's in the Infinity War of the
no. It is. I think about when you watch like a movie like The Expendables, and it's just a bunch of old guys that want to cash a check.
Sure, right.
This is that equivalent, but to real cinema. You know what I mean? It's the Expendables of actual amazing quality cinema films, not dumb action nonsense. But that's what it is. It's just like, let's get all the gang together and just make an amazing film. It won't be our best, but it is what it is. We're
that
fucking
sort of raises it, though,
95.
I think that's some of the weight that it has. It's like you're getting all these big actors together with Scorsese directing it to make a mob film, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why people love it so much. Is because they love mob films, and this is like I don't know, I guess like an ode to that, I guess, in a sense. So I get it, but also, yeah, it's not my top either.
Yeah. All right. That is our thoughts on The Irishman. People aren't going to like that too much. They want to
No, they're going to be really upset.
Plus, we were not very complimentary of it. It's an amazing movie. I love it too. I love it too. I just love all of the other movies more.
Yeah. Oh no.
The next film, Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
What a movie. Directed by Taika Waititi.
Mm-hmm.
James? What did you think of Jojo Rabbit? What did you think before you went into it, and what were your thoughts afterwards? Like, what were you expecting?
Well, I knew because it was Taika, I knew what kind of movie it was going to be. Like, right. You know, after having watched Thor Ragnarok, you sort of know what he sort of goes for. And so it wasn't a surprise when you go into it and you're like, hey, it's kind of goofy and over the top and whatnot. And obviously it's there's a lot of comedy in there. It's, I think with comedy films, films that rely very heavily on comedy, unless it's like Marvel, it takes me a bit to get into them. I don't know what it is. I think it's just I have to adjust my sense of humor a little bit, because it's one of those films where at the beginning, for like the first maybe 15 minutes, I was like, it's not funny. I don't like it. The jokes aren't doing it for me. It's not hitting right. But once I was in the film and like I was, sort of once you adjust to the film, it was sort of the same way when I first watched Inglourious Bastards. For like the first 15 minutes, I was like, okay, I need to adjust to this film to be able to, really. You're
very British humor oriented. You don't really like things outside of that too much. It takes you a while. See, this was very New Zealand, even going on to Australian humor.
Yeah,
this was a very Kiwi film, and instantly I love that sort of shit.
Yeah, the humor that was in like Thor Ragnarok, for example, I think he fucking
very
nailed
Kiwi
it.
movie again. But Ragnarok to me is a very Kiwi movie again. But you didn't have to get into that. It's Thor, so
he brings you into it, and you're like, oh, this is just funny. And I think like, and the thing that with this movie is once I was into it, I absolutely fucking loved it, and it was hilarious, and it was emotional, and it was such a brilliant film. And I think there were some jokes that didn't work for me. Like, I'm not a fan of like physical humor. So like, if someone's like, I don't know,
Are you talking about the kick?
No, not necessarily. I thought
the kick out the window to me was
that gave me
amazing.
A smile.
Yeah.
But it's little things like I don't know, like when the kid's running with the grenade and you got Taika behind him like doing some stupid dance. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe if I was 5 years old, I'd find that funny. But like, that's not funny. Like, he didn't need to do that.
But he's Hitler, so I do find it funny. I think that's
but to me, that's just it's just so over the top. And whereas, like, obviously, I love that shit. I'm English, so I like British humor, which is way more subtle and reserved. And it's just sort of like, this is a bit different to that. But I absolutely loved it, and like, 95% of it I thought was hilarious in terms of jokes. Not like 95% of the whole film I thought was hilarious. But there's so many, like, he brilliantly switches between being able to take things seriously and have you to have some tear-jerking moments, whilst also then be able to have moments where you're laughing at these jokes. And I think that's one of the things in Thor Ragnarok a lot of people take issue with, is they would go from a serious moment to all of a sudden like Thor will brush it off with a funny joke. Whereas in this movie, I think he absolutely nailed going between having something really emotional and then not actually detracting from that with humor, but using humor separately. And I think that was absolutely brilliant. The way, like, because it takes a lot to be able to do both, a lot of comedy and then actually have some emotional moments together in the same film and make you feel both of those emotions properly. So I think that was brilliant. I think the characters were all great. It looked great. It was like shot in a very interesting way, and it was just like the whole world and the way that it was done. It was such a great film. It was such a great different film, and I think it was really, really good.
I couldn't have said it better. It was phenomenal. The acting and performance is phenomenal. I loved the story. I was laughing from the start, but I was dying to see Jojo Rabbit. I've been hearing about this movie for months and months and months, and I love Taika. I love that sort of humor. So instantly, I was in with all aspects of it, and I thought, Taika Waititi, a Kiwi, a Maori Kiwi, playing Hitler. Like, I just was like, this is brilliant. The idea of it's just brilliant. And it's his this kid's imaginary friend. Like, I was in. I was so in. And what was so brilliant about it was, like you said, it was able to explore all these different themes of like a child's naivety, of wartime, of oppression and race and hate and love and all these different elements. And it was almost partly coming of age, all these different things, while balancing serious drama, emotional moments, and comedy, and not throwing them all together. I don't think there was any point that they crossed over each other.
No, they did so well.
And I'd just like to say, Scarlett Johansson is fucking killing it at the moment. Like, she's nominated for Best Supporting Actress and Best Actress for 2 different movies at the Oscars this year.
Yeah,
you know, for Marriage Story, but what I used to think of Scarlett 10 years ago, like she was just the slutty chick in every movie. You know what I mean? Like she was just the sleazy chick in every fucking movie. She's the hot girl. 2. But then from her being Black Widow, but not, you know, in Iron Man 2 again when they introduced her as Black Widow, she was just supposed to be, you know, someone to look at. But the way she developed through Marvel and now what she's doing as an actress, she's an incredible actress and an amazing woman. Talented, and I just love her, and I loved her in this movie. Terrible German accent. Anyway. But I think that was on purpose. It was definitely on purpose. Yeah, I did, but I think that was partly all on purpose as well. Like, it was all very terrible. Like,
yeah.
People had the one kid was an American accent, an English accent. And like,
it wasn't trying to be authentic.
Yeah, it wasn't trying to be authentic. And you have this New Zealand accent trying to be German. Like, it's like, so obviously,
it,
like, yeah, it's so funny. But, I love, there's, you know, you can't spoil it, but the first half of the movie, I was just like, well, this is really good. This is really good. There's a point in the movie that everything turns, and I was crying. I cried probably 3 or 4 times in this movie. And then from that point on, for the second half of the movie, was incredible. One of the best movies I've seen in years, I'd say. It was fantastic. It's definitely contender for, you know, we'll get to the end, but it's definitely contender for the best movie. I think, and Best Picture, definitely up there as one of the top movies of these 9. I loved the kid too. What a great kid they got to play this character, and he really carried the movie on his back with all these great actors around him. And all these great cameos, and there's all these different side characters that you really love and are humorous. That you've got the German army officers and Theon and that main and his teacher, like they're all really great.
Justin Hammer
Scarlett
from
Johansson.
Iron Man 2.
Yeah, that's it. He's they're fantastic. There's real human moments in it. His little friend that every time they see each other they hug, and it's like, oh, that's cute. Like kids, you know. Scarlett Johansson, obviously his mother's relationship, and the Jewish girl that's living in their house. Like, it's all those different relationships that Jojo carries on through the film, really well developed, and it comes together in the end. And there's that point at the end that you obviously know what I'm talking about, where our 2 sort of main characters of the movie have a really special moment. And I was just like, by that point, in tears already. So emotional. Like, you were in, even though it's like, it's a comedy war movie, but somehow you're still invested in like how the war goes.
Yeah.
And everything. And like, you're still taking it so seriously, even though it's so ridiculously silly. Like, this kid's talking to an imaginary Hitler.
Yeah.
An imaginary New Zealand Hitler.
It's so weird how they managed to do it, but they really fucking nailed it with the balance between comedy and seriousness.
The last scene really with Taika was so amazing. I was just cackling, laughing, right after I've wiped tears out of my eyes. Like, I don't know. I've never seen a movie that's able to do that, take me from crying to laughing so fast, but genuinely, like, not be laughing because, oh, I love these characters, laughing because that's genuinely a funny comedic moment.
Yeah.
But then the next minute, I'm like crying for a really emotional, dramatic moment. And I believe both of them somehow coexist so well. You don't really see that. You don't really see that.
No, you don't. It's really well done, and it was an incredible film.
It's a special movie. Jojo Rabbit is a special movie. Every time I unlock my phone, it pulls out from the photo. All right, here we go. The next movie on the list is Joker. We've already talked about Joker. So
Joker.
If you want to hear our thoughts on Joker, obviously go to our cinema room where we talk about Joker and we break the whole movie down. I loved it. James also loved it.
Yep.
Even though he put it at the bottom of the list for these 9.
I still love it.
I put it. It's somewhere in the middle for me. It's definitely somewhere in the middle. It's definitely, to me, a worthy contender to be in this. The way it's a phenomenally filmed movie. The story's amazing, and it's chilling. It's just a chilling movie.
I think what it is with this film, after thinking about it for a bit since it came out, I think one of my main issues with it is that it sits in between being a Scorsese film and a comic book movie, and doesn't really do either of them. It's sort of in between them. And I think that's something to me that
See, that was a positive for me.
It's to me that's it. I think that's a drawback of the film, because it doesn't go hard on either. It's like, we're kind of doing a Scorsese film, we're kind of doing a Batman.
But I've never
movie,
seen a movie try to do that. I've never seen a movie try to do that. Like, it was weird. It was this weird combination I've never seen anything like before. So it was just something super unique and interesting, and I still was compelled by all aspects.
Sure. I think that some aspects are a little... I think some of it is a bit superficial, but overall I really, really like the film, and I love Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker. I think he does a brilliant job. I really like how it's shot. I like how the Joker looks. The only thing I think about that I really don't like, and I get that it was meant to be the case, but I still just don't like it, is the way the Joker's very whiny when he's the Joker. Whereas the Joker, to me, is always meant to be this very confident character that just does shit because he does shit. And he's very calculated. He's not crying about the world being unfair. He just sort of does these things. And I get that it's meant to be his origin, and from this, he will become that Joker. But I still just don't like seeing it. Like, it kind of pisses me off. But for 90% of the movie, I think he's brilliant, and I think the Joker's done great, and it's great. But it's just like, probably when he's like on the talk show and he's like, oh, the world's unfair to me and poor people don't get as much stuff. And
see, I kind of got that. I kind of get what you're saying, but I always almost saw that as a ploy anyway.
Sure.
Because he's like trying to play a martyr. And he wouldn't have done that for any other reason than if there wasn't all these people on his side already, all the people in the clown mask. I felt like he was just playing to them.
Sure, like he's doing it on purpose to be like, oh, this is how I get the people behind me.
That's how I kind of saw it. I thought it was a little bit of both, but I definitely thought he was trying to play the people. That's why he did it on TV. He didn't just do it behind the scenes. If they did it, you know what I mean? Like, if he was just talking to him in private, he wouldn't have done that, I feel.
Yeah.
He wanted to be seen in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I absolutely love the film, and I think it's a great movie. So, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people going to be now in the comments.
He's not Heath Ledger. Like, I don't think...
Joker.
I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is better than Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger's the best Joker.
Not at all. But also, Heath Ledger was also given a better context, and he's playing the Joker. He's not trying to do an origin of the Joker, which also gives him an advantage there. But also, Heath Ledger's Heath Ledger. Like, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to beat that portrayal of the Joker in a live action film anyway, because you can do a lot more in animation or video games, but that Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to ever beat that in a live action film, especially with the legacy left with it as well. So but I do love the Joker. I think it's a great film, and I think it's weird that it's getting so much shit all of a sudden out of nowhere. I don't know if you've seen on Twitter. Yeah, it's just a lot of people are like talking loads of shit
really
about it all of a sudden.
Like anything on Twitter to me is like, it's not really a lot of people.
No, it's just everywhere, and it's pissing me off.
There's billions of people in the world, and there's a very small amount that are on Twitter, and there's still a small amount that are on Twitter that are saying that.
Yeah.
So I know it feels like a lot of people when it's on your timeline.
Yeah, you feel like it's your whole timeline. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's something you see quite frequently, is these people will be like, all of a sudden they come out, they're like, you know what, this thing is really, really bad and I hate it. And it happens all the fucking time. And people need to stop arguing about Spider-Man films, because it's really, I don't like it. It's bad. I've had to mute the word Spider-Man. Because I can't fucking stand it. Yeah, because people just won't shut the fuck up about Spider-Man. And we all of a sudden will be like, oh, this is one of the things the MCU Spider-Man did wrong, and he was fucking, why they got Tony Stark instead of Ben, fucking Uncle Ben, and Jesus Christ, it's been years. Just stop arguing about Spider-Man films. Sam Raimi's never making another one. Stop it, I don't like it. It's ruining my life.
It's ruining my life. That's so funny.
Oh, God.
That is so funny. Yeah, no, but I agree. I see a lot of the Spider-Man stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking annoying as shit. But, Yeah. Okay. Anyway, on to the next film, which is, I believe I'm right, Little Women.
Okay.
Little Women.
I'll tell you what I think this is about.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, I forgot. Okay, you tell me what Little Women is about. You haven't seen it. I've seen it. Go on.
Little Women. Okay, I got two ideas, right? One's a bit more metaphorical than the other.
Have you seen even a trailer or a picture of it? Do you know anything?
No, I have no idea. For all I know, it's not even about women.
Yeah, right, true.
I reckon. So these are my two
spoilers,
ideas.
it is. It's about women. It's about women.
Oh, it is about women. Okay, that gives me a bit of a clue. So I think either, and this is probably not likely, but it could be, it's either about really small women, like physically they're really small, like the borrowers or something.
I can see why you think that, yeah.
They go around stealing things from people's houses. They slip through the keyhole and stuff. Swing off of the curtains. It's maybe that, or it's about female empowerment and about how women aren't seen as important as men, and that's why they're little women, because they're nowhere near as good as men, and that's obviously the objective truth. That is the objective. But this movie is telling the fictional stories of like as if women were as important as men, which of course they're not. So. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love how a rebranding of all our shows was like to kind of make us less hated, but somehow I think it made it worse.
Every podcast so far, we've had one sexist joke.
Yeah. But what did I say earlier today? Something about like pedophiles or something. I don't know.
Today.
Michael Jackson.
Oh, Michael Jackson. Yeah. If you like, if you still care about Christian Bale shouting at someone on set, then you're a Michael Jackson apologist.
Yeah. You must be. That's my only explanation.
You must be. If you don't like Christian Bale in 2020, you must be or sympathise with paedophiles. That is the case.
I think so.
I think so too. No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I truly believe that in my heart, and I just want you to know that's what I believe in my heart. So there we go.
Good. What's Little Women about then?
Okay,
was I right?
So No, not really.
Not even close.
Remotely close. No.
Okay.
No. So Little Women is about a family of 4 sisters, and it's a few years after. It's what I like about it. It's set actually in 2 different times. One is before and one is after. It's set a 7-year period, I should say. I'll be specific. It's set in a 7-year period, during and after the American Civil War. It's in it's in Massachusetts, so on the east coast of America. It's in a small town in Massachusetts, and so it's the late 1800s. And it's this family of 4 sisters. Who's it played by? So you got Emma Watson's one, Saoirse Sharonan is one, Florence Pugh, so the new bloody Black Widow. And Eliza Scanlon. So they're the 4 sisters. So Emma Watson plays Meg, who's the older sister. Then Saoirse Sharonan plays the main character of the movie, Jo. And then you've got Florence, who plays the second youngest, and then Eliza plays Beth, the youngest sister. And I'll give you the dynamic. Meg's the older one that's a bit more into the simpler things and really just kind of wants to fit in. She's quietly confident. Then you've got Saoirse Ronan, or Jo March, our main character, who's the strong-willed one that's willing to stand up and do whatever, that if she could, she'd fight in the war herself alongside her dad, who's away fighting in the Civil War. She's that type of woman that can do anything and doesn't ever want to get married and be into the gender stereotypes, and she's a great writer, and her sisters all admire her, even her older sister Meg. They all admire her. They act in her plays because she writes plays that they act, and she writes short stories that she reads to everyone, and they just, like, everyone adores Jo. Then you've got Florence, who plays Amy, who's the second youngest, and they're like the 2 rival sisters. Jo and Amy are, because Amy wants to be married. They're like opposites. She wants to be married to a wealthy guy, and wants to go through life as easy as possible. And she's very la-di-da, right? And then you've got Beth, who's kind of the quietest one, the really shy, quiet youngest sister that everyone adores her and loves her, sort of thing. Like, everyone wants to look after Beth. Everyone loves Beth. Their mother's this amazing woman. She's Admiral Holdo. So yeah. So I'll call her Holdo throughout this episode. So you've got Holdo, who she's like the mother that would, you know, give you the clothes off her back to help someone in need. So they're not rich, but they're not poor. They're sort of in, but they could be well off, but they give a lot to others, especially the mother. Like one of the section of the movies, it's Christmas, and they all have this big feast. So they have this woman that's like the nanny of the house, and they have this big feast. But the mother had just visited one of the people in the church who's a single mum at this point with her husband away. She's got 4 kids, and they live in a shack. They're all cold and they don't have any food for Christmas. They bring all their food over to them. Like that's something they do. Now, they're all quite young early in the movie. Like the eldest one makes probably like 17 at the time, and then all the way down Amy, as in Florence, she's 13. To give you some context of their ages, and that's the early point, and then we go back and forth between the start and then the 7-year ahead period, where Jo is a writer and she's living in New York trying to make money to give to her family back home in Massachusetts. And Amy is off in Paris. So they have this aunt who's played by Meryl Streep, and she's this rich aunt who all she wants is, like, she's very proper, and you must marry rich or you're you know, bad for, like, she thinks Jo's, you know, wasting her time writing. She's a failure to the family. She should be off marrying someone rich. Instead, she's doing dumb shit, and she's a failure to the family. Whereas Amy, she's in a proper, she wants to marry a proper, she's a real lady. She does lady things. She wants to marry a real man. I'm going to bring her to Paris with me to find someone to marry. So that's 7 years ahead, where she's studying art and being courted by this rich... he's actually an English guy. This rich English guy who lives in Paris at the time. So that's like what we're jumping between. And Emma Watson marries just a regular school teacher. So she has 2 kids, and she's, you know, just living a regular, quite poor life. And her sort of... Emma Watson's probably the most minor of the sisters, but her struggles are mostly just being able to accept her life for what it is. So the story really is... Jo's the main focus, right? So here's Sharonan, who's, by the way, an amazing fucking actress. She has the thickest Irish accent, but she can do every accent under the sun like it's her natural, you know, born accent. It's incredible. And... it kind of goes through all 4 sisters' struggles and what they need to accept about the world, but also themselves. So it's a very coming-of-age story from 4 different perspectives, which is nice to see. It deals with the gender stuff, and you know, it's definitely a feminist film, but it's not. It's an amazing movie. It really is an amazing movie and story. It's probably not for everyone, but I like all types of movies. I can watch a chick flick and enjoy it if it's any good. Like, I don't really care what type of movie it is. Is it good or is it not good? And this it's an amazing movie. You get to see the sort of class acceptance that Emma Watson's character has. You get to see Jo sort of, she's struggling with she's the one that struggles with all the gender conformities and what she should and shouldn't do, but is she resisting it for the sake of resisting it, and is that actually impacting her happiness? The older she gets, is she less happy because she's always fighting and she's so lonely, and all this sort of stuff. And then you've got Amy, who's in Paris and always wanted the finer things and always been very all about herself, but her finding a way to actually respect herself a bit more, and not, you know, she wants all the finer things because she feels like she's hard done by when she's not, and she also feels like she's second best and she just wants to be first. She always feels like Jo has everything and Jo gets everything. She's always a step ahead, and being that younger sister, she wants that. Where she goes through a maturity of you know, accepting who she is, what she really does want, and maybe just marrying rich isn't everything she wants. She wants to genuinely be happy, and she doesn't have to have any chip on her shoulder. She doesn't have to resent her sister. And then Beth actually has a big illness. You watch in this flashback storyline the family sort of being so close, and these four sisters are so close, sort of break apart over time. for various reasons and grow further apart to this point where Beth, the youngest sister, actually gets quite sick and the family comes back together. The very emotional point of the movie. But the big sort of romance story arc of the movie is the guy that plays Henry in the movie The King. Timothy Chalamet. He's amazing in this movie. He's such a good fucking actor. He's the main love interest for our main character, Joe. And he comes from a wealthy family and he becomes very close with this whole family and helps them out a lot. And he's being raised by his grandfather and everything like that. And he is in love with Joe the whole movie. And they're best friends for the whole movie. And the struggle is she doesn't want to get married and be with any man ever, under any circumstance. But there comes that point throughout the story where they come to a crossroads where he's like, look, this is what everyone expects us to do. I love you, I love you. And it's a big moment that then leads towards the later half of the later section of the movie. And you see how that relationship dynamic changes. And, some people are meant to be together. Some people aren't, even though, maybe it should work on paper. So there's a lot of elements and themes that you deal with of, gender roles, of coming of age, of class warfare, of family, of love. There's so many themes explored in this movie. It's a very human movie. I love the way it explores it. I haven't seen a movie done like this in a while, but I love those types of movies where it takes you in two different times and you get to see how the characters get from one point to that future point, but it goes back and forth throughout it, and you want to know, I'm like, well, how did we get here, and why is this character so, that was so kind, very cynical later on? Like, you want to know how they got there, and it kind of draws you in, because if perhaps the development wasn't strong enough early on, you see where they get to and you're like, but how did they get there? I really am interested in what happen to them, because every character goes through real struggles, real hard moments. It completely changes their character in the movie and the way it wraps up and ends. It's an amazing movie. I really enjoyed it. I think it's worth a watch. I think you should watch it. I don't think you'll like it as much as I do. I don't think it's necessarily a James movie, but I don't think it's a James movie. I don't think it's a Lasers movie. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I really, really enjoyed it.
All right, great.
Really enjoyed it.
I'll have to give it a watch. I mean, I do want to watch all of these movies at some point when I get around to it. But who knows if I will or not. Probably won't, but eventually one day, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. It's definitely worth a watch. I watched this and 1917 back to back at the cinemas. I went to the cinemas and timed it well enough that I saw this and then straight away went into the next cinema and saw the next movie. I fucking love doing that. It's a lot of fun.
How much do cinema tickets cost where you are?
I'm a member. I have a cinema literally 200 meters from my house, like a really nice, kind of local, smaller cinema, but it's quite recently made and built. So it's I'm a member there. So my tickets are $12.50.
Okay, that's pretty fucking.
So Australian dollar. So that's like £7, £6, £6.5.
Yeah.
Whereas in my local small when I didn't technically don't live in Brisbane. I do now, but I didn't grow up in Brisbane. Technically, it was like a area outside of Brisbane, and my cinemas there was in Australian dollars. It's $8 a ticket, and that's not being a member or anything. Harlan and I used to go to the cinemas growing up, when we were in high school, once a week to see whatever movie was out because it was so cheap.
My God, that is fucking cheap. Jesus.
Whereas our cinemas, it's $17 for a ticket normally, but because I'm a member there, my ticket's at $12.50. So, my membership costs $5 a year. So it's you literally buy one ticket and it's the same price to buy a membership and a membership ticket to just buy a regular ticket. So you go to the movies once a year, you make your money back. So it's
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, tickets here are fucking expensive. It's like £12 or something for a ticket.
Jesus Christ.
It's
you living in Melbourne, man, was ridiculous. That's
this.
how much it was. It was $25 a ticket, so it was about the same. And it was just it was a nightmare, man. It was a nightmare. I hate it. I barely went to
I want to go see so many films, but then I'm also that's a lot of money though.
Yeah. So it's not too much. It's not too bad for me. It's not too bad for me. But I was determined to watch all these movies, so I did it. I ran around, finding places where they were playing these movies. So yeah, it's been honestly, I loved it. I want to do this every year. I've never gone and watched every movie that's up for Best Picture before. I've never done that.
Yeah. Well, if we do this every year, next year
I'd like this to be a
I'll give it
yearly
a go.
tradition for us. I'd like this to
Try
be
and do
a
'em all.
yearly tradition. Please, try to do them all.
Yeah,
I
it'd be good
loved
fun.
watching these movies because it's not often you really focus and you're like, I got to watch these movies, and they're just so good. So
Yeah.
many good movies I got to watch in a short period of time. I watched Parasite, Little Women, and 1917 in 24-hour period.
That's mad.
It was just so much fun. I just loved it. I had a great fucking time doing it. So yeah, for
Cool.
sure. The next movie on the list is Marriage Story.
Marriage Gaming. This movie that every film Twitter hates for some reason.
Wait, really?
Well, yeah, it's like that. There's that one scene with Scarlett Johansson and Ben Solo arguing, and
Did you just call him Ben Solo?
yeah, I did call him Ben Solo.
Was that on purpose?
Yeah, that was on purpose.
Oh, I thought that was like unironically for a second.
No, just like his real name is Ben Solo.
Yeah. I was like, yep.
And they're arguing or whatever, and film Twitter's like, oh, why is this such a bad scene? So fucking shit.
What?
Don't know. I didn't think it was a bad scene. I've seen the scene. I don't think it's a bad scene. I think it's pretty good, actually. It's like where Ben Solo punches a wall or something, and everyone's like, oh my god, it looks so shit and unrealistic or whatever.
Oh, it looks like a weakly man did it, which is what he's playing.
It looks like just a
And what would
regular
actually
bloke
happen.
punched a wall in anger. Yeah. Like, it doesn't look cinematic, like his hand just goes through the wall and everything. Like, it just looks...
exactly. It's a very... And this thing
It's
about Marriage
real.
Story...
It looks real.
It's a very
what I'm
real
saying.
movie, very grounded, very simple. It doesn't try to do too much at all. It's a very indie film. It's not trying to Hollywood it up at all. This is what you'd call in the biz real cinema, James.
Real cinema.
Yeah, this is what you call real cinema in the biz. I know you don't know what that's like, but it is.
Best Scorsese loved this one.
Oh, he did. He really did. I heard.
Yeah. Okay.
I heard he
That's
did.
good. That's good.
Just so you're aware of that. I wasn't sure if you knew, but no, he loved
I
it.
know now.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. My mate mine. Liked it.
But I mean, the main basis of the movie is obviously Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson's characters married and then getting divorced. So when the movie starts, they have just separated and they're organizing how they're gonna get divorced and what's the process going to be, what's the living situation going to be, and all that sort of stuff. And Adam Driver plays a guy called Charlie, and Charlie is a stage director in New York City. And when he met Scarlett Johansson, what the fuck is her character's name?
Black Widow.
Yes, it is actually Black Widow.
What a
that is No, her name's Nicole Barber. So and Nicole's an actress, and he met her when she'd been in like one movie, like one of those teen college movies, comedy movies, and she got a bit of success from that, and he met her and she started acting in a couple of his stage plays, and pretty much he made her a real big theater success. And a lot of the movie jumps between the perspectives and even narration of each of the characters talking about each other, like really nice things about how they see each other and why they loved the other one, but not in a way that's like, oh my god, it's just like, oh man, I'm so in love. Like, it was like logical love, practical love of what is it really about them that is good about them. You know, what is it that they do logically really that is good about as a good person, or good at their career job, or good as a parent, like that sort of stuff. And you see it in the trailer, they kind of have a bit of those scenes. And you see that they're very different people, and you actually see very quickly of why their marriage didn't work out. Though they're both really good people, there's no like sides. I mean, there's different points. I feel like you are at points in the movie you're picking sides and you're like getting annoyed, but I feel like depending on your gender, you're picking that side. So I found myself being like, what a fucking Nicole, what a fucking bitch, like doing that to Charlie. But then I'm like, but I'd be him. You know what I mean? Like, if I was going through a divorce, I'd be him and be in his circumstance. Because when it comes to divorce, especially with being a parent, your gender matters. Whether you're the mother or the father, it matters when it comes to custody. It matters when it comes to money and all that sort of stuff. So I was, definitely could relate and was relating to Charlie's character. Whereas I feel like a female watching this might feel very, very differently and be like... oh, Charlie, what a fucking cunt, like, when he did stuff. So there's definitely two sides to every story, like any separation and divorce, and it was a very realistic telling of it, and how a young child, also deals with it. Not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to cry every time. Like, it was a very different way to do it, where it's just a lot more like their behavior sort of change because their environment keeps changing so much. So their personalities change, the things they like sort of change a bit as well. And the parents find it hard to, like Charlie, who was very, very close to the son, is finding it and really struggling to relate to him and being like, yeah, but you love this. And he goes, no, I don't anymore. Like those sorts of things that you really see. And honestly, Adam Driver's definitely the main character of this movie. You spend probably 75% of the movie from his perspective. I was very surprised at how much was from his perspective. But there's so many great acting moments. What this movie really is an acting display for Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson has one point where she has like a good 5 to 6 minute monologue that's one shot, and she just kills the performance, and really you really see how what the marriage did to her emotionally and mentally, and really where she's at in her life, and why she wants to leave, and what she wants to then do, and what she felt went wrong. Like, again, it's a very indie film, and there's no wrong, there's no right. It's a very realistic and believable story. Very realistic and believable performances, and I thought in terms of performances of when you're looking at these 9 movies, it's definitely up there with sort of the best. What Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver did, the best sort of performances that are out there of these movies. Really phenomenal stuff from both of them. I loved it. It's definitely worth a watch. It's not too long. I'm trying to remember how long the movie is. It's not too long. 2 hours 17 minutes. That's actually longer than I remembered. Why are movies so long at the moment, James? Something needs to stop, by the way. I just want to point that out. Movies are too long right now.
Look, they just understand what makes true cinema, and that is
was like
being
the shortest,
so long.
That was the shortest movie I feel like of all 9 was Marriage Story.
That's why it's so shit, because it has to be longer. If you want to be true cinema, you've got to be at least 3 hours. 4 hours is really where you hit that true cinema mark. Where, like, you've been watching the whole thing and you're like, wow, this feels like my whole life. I don't remember my life before this film. That's when you've hit true cinema, because you feel so very immersed in the movie. So, I think that's objectively what makes good cinema.
Objectively, yeah. Definitely objectively. Because you can, when it comes to opinions, say something is definitively and objectively the correct answer.
Of course I can.
Because if you put the word objective on it, that actually makes it true, and that makes your opinion more valid than someone else's. That's just their opinion, whereas I'm saying the objective truth.
Yes, exactly. And I've got to let you know it's objective as well, because objectivity is, of course, subjective until I tell you that it's objective, and then it's subjective.
Yeah. No, I totally get you.
Yeah,
totally
of course you do, because you're objectively a connoisseur the same as I am.
For sure.
Just thought I'd inform you on that objective truth.
No, I appreciate you doing that for me.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, you definitely should have seen Marriage Story. It's on Netflix.
I'm going to have to watch it. I did mean to, but...
You uncultured fucking swine.
Like, last night I was like, I'm going to watch it. And then I got so tired that I was like, no, I'm going to sleep. So, I didn't watch it. But I'm going to watch it, though.
Sure you are.
And I'll put out a tweet about it. I'll be like, hey, this movie was good. Or something like that.
Shut the fuck up. Oh, that movie was good.
That's what I do. That movie was objectively good.
You're a dickhead.
That's what I do.
That's how it be sometimes, James.
That is how it be sometimes.
Yeah.
What's our next film?
Our next film is 1917.
Ooh.
This film had so much hype behind it. People constantly, day after day, on Discord and Twitter. Have you seen 1917 yet? Have you seen 1917 yet? Have you seen 1917 yet? Oh, you should see 1917, Tyler. I want to fucking see 1917! Stop fucking asking me! Stop telling me to see it. I'm already going to see it. Stop trying to talk to me like... People weren't trying to just tell me, oh, by the way, 1917, if you haven't seen it, you should see it. No, it was like them telling me as if I need to be convinced to see it. It's 1917. It's a legitimate film. It's not some pile of shit like Daredevil that I'm never It's a piece of legitimate cinema
I don't
that obviously I'm going to go to watch.
Yeah.
So it's not like that example I just gave that's a pile of shit.
Yeah,
it's
tell you what, I thought
legitimate,
1917 sucked, and I'd rather watch Daredevil. So
yeah.
Suck my
Well,
dick,
that's
cunt.
again. Once again, we've already established you're an uncultured swine, so it doesn't matter, does it? You know what I mean? Like, or obviously your opinion doesn't matter, and that's the objective truth of the matter. That's our first meme of 2020, by the way.
Yeah, that's it. That's good.
Is objective truth. Is objective truth, and I love. And you know what?
Truth.
I love it. It feels
good.
It feels good. But anyway, 1917.
Mm-hmm.
We've both seen it. James, did you feel the hype going into it? What were your expectations at, and did it meet them?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have any expectations going into this film. I'd seen trailers, like when I've gone to see movies or whatever, you know, there's a lot of trailers for it playing in the cinema, but I never really seeked any, I don't know, information out about it online, or like went and watched any other trailers that were out there. I was just like, this movie looks really good and I'm going to see it. But I never really looked into sort of what the movie was, or how it was made, or what it was really about. I was like, this just looks good from the trailers. And so going into it, there wasn't really any expectations. I know people on Discord have been like, oh, this movie's absolutely incredible, but I expected it to be a really good film. So there wasn't any real expectations there. So when I was watching it, I was like it starts off and the tone is set, and like you can see that it's very gritty, very real. And these actors giving great performances. You know, you've got the shot of them going through the trench, and the camera's following them. And I think it was at about 20 minutes in where I realized the camera hasn't visibly cut.
Did you not know that?
And I didn't know. And I was like,
see, I knew going in, I'm like, this is a one-shot movie. I knew. Yeah,
I didn't know that. And so when I realized, like after 20 minutes, the camera hadn't cut, I'm like, oh shit, they're doing the whole film is gonna be made to look one shot. I was like, that is fucking incredible, and it looked incredible. Like obviously, there's moments where you can. I mean, it's not visible where you can see they've cut it together, but you know this is where they would have, you know, shut the camera off or whatever. And
well, I was surprised
whatever
that the takes were massively long. Like they had I'll give you a spoiler of an actor that's in the movie. Benedict Cumberbatch is towards the end of the movie, right? And he was on set and paid millions, and most days he didn't do anything because they would call him on a radio and be like, we're going again. And I think he got paid like $30 million to be there, or something obnoxious, like something so ridiculous to really not be there for most of the movie.
Yeah, and it's like they obviously did very long takes for each take, but you can see where they've stitched it together sometimes. Like if a camera goes behind a tree, or like if
it's where you assume they've done it, right? Like you don't know for sure, but you assume that must have been where they cut it.
I'm pretty confident, but you don't know for sure because you can't physically tell, like you can't see a cut.
Exactly.
So obviously you can't physically tell, you just assume that's the case. Or like when the camera follows them into a dark room and it goes black and then fades in because you can see like a light come through, you're like, they probably cut there, but you don't know.
No, because you can't tell.
And it was fucking incredible, just the way you see where they start to where they end the film, and like you see the entire journey from start to finish. You know, there's no montages of like, now we're in a truck and we're going a distance, or there's no like time jumps or whatever in terms of like the journey. Like there is a time jump, but like that's different how it works. And it's just like it's incredibly fucking immersive, and just the way you see this whole journey, you see every single step of the way as if you're going from A to B, and it reminded me almost of when you're playing like a video game, and it's very different from a film in terms of when you're going from like say like one mission marker to another or something, you see the whole journey. Like you see like these fields, or like you go over mountains, or maybe you have to like swim through a river, or you go through like a nearby town, or like you might meet NPCs or whatever when you're playing a game. This movie was so similar to that experience in the sense that you see every step of the way. You get that the tiny details of navigating these spaces, or going through a field, or you know when you're gonna go into a building, and like the way the pacing fluctuates. Like you go from having this incredibly fast-paced scene to this really slow, you know, meandering part of it where like these two characters will be talking to each other, then it'll ramp back up into action. You got moments where literally you're just lingering in one place for like, you know, 5 to 10 minutes or whatever. And it's just like, it felt so real. Like, it felt like this real journey across this large distance that I feel is the first film that's made me feel almost like that same feel you get when you're playing a video game, where it's like you're navigating from one place to another, but like you get all of these details in between that movies normally skip over to hit the main story beats. But in this, the main story beats all are contained within that journey that felt so real, and so it was just incredible. Like, it's difficult to put into words how amazing it was and how much that added to the overall plot of the film, because on top of that, the performances are great, the overall plot is tense and interesting, it's an incredibly made film, the way that all of that stuff is done, the realism, the setup and everything, like, it's such a fucking good film, and I can't imagine how difficult it could have been to make something like this film. It was magnificent.
Oh, dude, it's I'm completely on the same page. The word I described was a triumph. This movie is genuinely a fucking technical, cinematic triumph. Like, just the concept of explaining how you're gonna do a war movie, but how you're gonna do it. The way it wasn't just cinematic; it was so realistic. Like, I was there.
Yeah,
it's a movie you see in cinemas, and I say Australian crowds are very much like British crowds, right? In a cinema, we're not like Americans that cheer and scream at the cinema. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We laugh very occasionally if it's like a big film everyone's looking forward to, like an Endgame. There might be an applause on the credits, like a clap. But there's no cheering. Like. I'm probably the only one that's ever cheered in Australian cinema ever, and that's just, at the end of Endgame when everyone came out of the fucking portals. I was like, oh my god! And I just, I didn't mean for it to happen, it just kind of came out of me. But in this movie, C1917, the way they do tension, the way they do, and it's due to the way they filmed it, and sound design. There's barely any music in this movie, but when there's music, it's so impactful. And there's so much use of silence, and so few movies and directors are ballsy enough to use silence, and Sam Mendes nails silence in this movie. There's moments where the audience, everyone in my row, including myself, jumped out of our seat scared because sound went from silence to sound, and you forget silence is happening because silence is deafening. And that's what it was in this movie.
Yeah, it was incredible.
When it goes from silence to sound, and you're like, oh shit! And I physically jumped. My whole row physically jumped about 5 times in the movie. From something happening, something coming into the movie. And it's not like a jump scare thriller at all. It's just a normal sound. But it comes from silence to such an impactful sound that you jump. Because it's not a normal movie either where that sound wouldn't be impactful. The sound's impactful because the way they do the sound, juxtaposing silence to loud, significant noises, but also because it is filmed one shot, because it's filmed in such a way that is so connected to the character, you feel like you're literally in the situation happening. It's probably a movie that, there's movies where you feel like, oh, you're in it. This has probably done it better than any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, it feels...
Where you legitimately think you're there for a minute. And you have to, wake yourself up and be like, holy shit. It's like when you're dreaming and you wake up and be like, oh, thank God, it's just a dream. Sometimes it's like you're watching a movie like, oh, thank God, I'm actually just watching it. I'm not really getting shot at by Germans in 1917.
It was one of those things, like, it had to... it was one of those films I was thinking about a lot afterwards, because it's like you've been through an experience, and like the dangers feel like genuine dangers, and you do have to realize you're like, oh shit, okay, I'm just watching a film, we're okay. Like, I remember it's when they go into that underground bunker bit, and there's the scene with the rat.
Yes. Again, use of silence to that
that's
noise.
The first time it sort of happens, and it's like that moment was so fucking tense, and like after it, like, and then you're sprung straight into action and everything, and you feel so in it, and it's like, it's easily the most immersive film probably I've ever seen. It's such an incredible, like, experience. It's something you have to see, and something you have to see really in cinemas. It's an experience. It's not just a film, right? It's a cinematic experience. Yeah, it really is, and it's one of those. It's a film I really want to see it again. Like, I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yes.
And I'm like, I need to see this film again. because it's so well done. I need to just take it in again and like look at it, because I feel like when you're watching it the first time, it does feel like an experience in the sense that you're so with it that you don't feel like you're watching a film. Whereas I want to watch it again, knowing what's going to happen and be able to take it all in a different way almost.
Do you know what's overshadowed in this movie? Is because everything else outshines it.
Mm-hmm.
These guys weren't nominated for anything, but their performances were so believable.
Oh man, yeah.
And did such a good job. But I don't think anyone was nominated in acting categories for 1917.
Really?
And it's almost not in spite, because of the fact that the direction of the movie is so good and stands out so much that the credit of why the movie's so good goes so much to that and not as much to the performances.
But every performance was brilliant. That's one of the reasons it brings you in so much. It's because it feels so real. Like it doesn't feel like you're watching a war film. It feels like you're watching the war. And I think that a lot of the credit of that goes to all of the performances. They all feel like actual soldiers and people that were in this war. And yeah, they were all brilliant, especially the main guys.
Yeah, lead. I'm looking for the actors. Lead actor: DiCaprio, Adam Driver, Joaquin Phoenix, Jonathan Pryce, Antonio Banderas. Yeah, no one from 1917 was nominated for an acting job, and we're obviously like Sam Mendes was nominated for director. 100% should be.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a phenomenal, and just screenplay 1917 is up for it. Cinematography 1917, it should probably win that. Film editing, well, it's not nominated obviously, because it's not really any editing, is there? Sound editing, which it is nominated for sound editing, as sound design and sound editing was incredible, but in terms of just basic editing, there's no editing. It's just one shot. Well, yeah, of course, made to look like that. Sound mixing, nominated for, as it should be. Production design, nominated for. Original score, nominated for. Makeup, hairstyle, nominated for. Costume design, not nominated for.
Okay.
And visual effects nominated for. 1917's, it's a whole lot. Nominated for a whole lot. And if it won every single one, it'd be justified. In my humble opinion.
Yeah. It's very, very, very good.
What was some standout moments for you in this film? What were some moments what were those moments that really stuck out to you?
I mean, it'd be easy to say like the sort of the big moment that was in the trailer with all like when everyone's going over and he's trying to get to the bloke to give him the letter or whatever right at the very end, with all the explosions going off. Like I think that's an incredible moment purely because of what went into making it, as like from a filmmaking standpoint. But in terms of like moments in the film, I mean, there are so many fucking moments. Probably, I mean, the whole section at the, where was it? I guess it was a farm. At sort of like, I don't know when that was.
Yeah,
it was
the
towards the beginning.
Berry farm or the strawberry farm, whatever it was. The raspberry farm?
whatever it was. That place, that was it. That whole section was very standout for a lot of reasons. And I think that was done very, very well. And on top of that, there was another moment that I was thinking of. I mean, it's difficult to say without completely like spoiling moments in the film, but the bit where we go into we're like in this town. And
I love that it's weird because it is like that. It really is like that. You can't say that in movies, but
where you're in the town. Yeah. It's like you're talking about a video game.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you go into the town and we meet this woman that's in there, and you have the exchange, and there's the kid and everything.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. True.
That's a great moment too.
Yeah, that's a good one. I loved No Man's Land, where you're walking through this trench the whole time. You're like, holy shit, how long does this go for? Just a fucking trench, because it doesn't cut away. You just walking, then you go to No Man's Land, and it's like, oh shit, like legitimately, oh shit, like this is really fucking tense. And another thing I did want to mention about sound, because again, I think this is sound editing. It 100% has to win the Oscar for sound editing. It's incredible. it doesn't just use these loud sounds either so well or silent so well. It also uses sound so sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason a gunshot is so there's no movie a gunshot's more impactful than this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it is because the sound is used for it so sparingly.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, it really is a very, very, impactful movie with sound because of how sparingly it uses those big sounds. And when those sounds come and happen and a gunshot happens, it's not, 50 million gunshots, it's a war movie, shit's happening. It's like, no, it's like 3. And then you go all this time without that happening again. It's like in a realistic scenario where you've got 2 guys going to deliver a message and they run into a guy or 2 guys. How many gunshots do you need to kill them? It's not 15. It's not 100. 2 or 3. A shot kills someone or at least drops them and then, But all those things, happen and they stress you out and it's tense moments, there's emotional moments. And by the end, I was exhausted. I was like crying out of like emotional exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shit. Here we are, finally. Did we do it? Did we not do it? I don't know. Go see the movie.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah. 1917, masterpiece, I would say, is the word I would describe it. Masterpiece of a movie.
Yeah, I agree.
The next film on the list, number 8, is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood from Quentin Tarantino. All these months later, how, James, do you feel about this movie?
Pretty much the same as when we first talked about it. So if everybody wants to go listen to that podcast that we did, go and check that out. But yeah, I think it's one of those movies that if you're a fan of Tarantino, if you like all of his movies that he's done before, this is a movie I think you'll really appreciate, you'll be really into. But if it's the first Tarantino movie you're watching, I think you'll be a bit like, maybe a bit lost with it. I feel like you need to know Tarantino to really enjoy this film. And I think it's a bit different. Like it's a bit more of a subdued Tarantino film, whereas a lot of his other ones are very over the top. Like if you go from watching like Kill Bill to this, you're gonna be like it's a very different approach, even though it still feels very Tarantino. So I think if it were any other Tarantino movie, this could be a contender for my top like pick for Best Picture or whatever. But because I love Tarantino, but I think this one is a lot less, I don't want to say less memorable, but it's not as like, there's not as many like huge crazy big moments where you're like, oh, this movie had so many great things. It's a very like slice of life character focused film where it's really held up by the actors' performances, and that is a joy to watch. Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio did an incredible job, and they're both
one of Brad Pitt's best movies.
The best parts of the film, watching them do their performances. And I think that's what's really great to watch, backed up by Tarantino's, interesting writing and then, his over-the-top moments. I think all of that comes together to make a really great film that you can enjoy. But it's not one of those classic Tarantino, like, really big, crazy, dramatic, over-the-top pieces, which is, I think, one of the things that for me, because it's difficult because I'm not trying to say this movie is not as good because of that. It's just one of those things that's like, it's still just as enjoyable and just as great, but for very different reasons. And I think it's still one of my favorites. It's really fucking brilliant.
Yeah, honestly, I think I like this movie more over time than I maybe did at the time. I think you have expectations with Tarantino films, whereas like I think looking back on the movie, it's actually up there with one of my favorites because of the performances. And I think to myself, I could probably watch these actors these characters, a day in life of these characters every day. Like I loved their characters and how they interact in their, it's like the way they did flashbacks in this movie, especially a couple of those Brad Pitt ones, like the Brad Pitt Bruce Lee one. I love because it's like you're with a mate and you're reminiscing about classic stories. Like that's just like a classic. Oh, remember the time you're on set and you got kicked off because you got in a fight with Bruce Lee. It's like this ridiculous stories that these actors would have, and I loved that, and the performances, like you said, just were the best part. Brad Pitt and DiCaprio just absolutely murdered in this movie, and if DiCaprio won Best Actor, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be Joaquin Phoenix, I'd say.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he'll get it.
Okay.
I think he'll get it.
That'd be pretty.
Should he get it? Yeah, probably he should get it. Let's be real. Like that, you can not like the joke, but that performance was ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
it's really fucking good.
Did you see his BAFTA acceptance speech?
No, I didn't, but I saw it was like tweeted about. I just never actually watched it.
Yeah, right. Well, he said that he ended it with like, I couldn't have done this, performance without standing on the shoulders of my favorite actor, Heath Ledger.
Oh, that's great. What a guy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. But yeah, it's Once Upon a Time Hollywood, I honestly like it more now than I think I did at the time. Just looking back and seeing it for what it was, I love the tone, I love the vibe, I love the art style, like costume design, and yeah, just the character's so cool, and I love how it ended, and the kind of sort of goofiness to it that's very, very Tarantino.
Yeah, very Tarantino. That was the name of the podcast,
title.
wasn't
Yeah,
it?
well, it sure was, James.
Very Tarantino.
It sure was. It was very Tarantino. All right, the final film, the 9th film that is nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
At the Optus.
At the Oscars, well, so many films we've talked about. At the Oscars is a South Korean film called Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho, who I'm not sure if you've seen the movie Snowpiercer with Chris Evans, our boy Captain America. He directed that as well.
Okay.
But this is... I haven't seen Snowpiercer, but it's been on my list for a while to see. So this is actually the first Juno film I've seen.
Juno film.
Juno film. No, we don't. We've already made one reference. Bong Joon-ho film that I've seen. And it's so different to films you're going to watch. Especially in terms of, like, you look at these 9 movies, man, this one's so fucking out of the box. So out of the box. It's really about class warfare and family relationships, wealthy versus poor. There's and the struggle to be poor, and not the struggle to be poor in a stereotypical sense that movies and stories try to do, where it's about, oh, it's so hard to be poor. No, it's not about that. It's about what people are willing to do when they're poor to get by. That's what it's really about, and what they're willing to do to each other, rather than do to the rich, sort of thing. Like it's very much based on that. And the story is about a poor Korean family, the Kim family, and how they form this sort of relationship with this rich, wealthy family, the Park family. So the Parks are a rich household, right? So you've got the husband, wife, and they have a 16-year-old daughter or 15-year-old daughter. I looked this up. I think she's 16-year-old daughter, and a maybe 10-year-old son. And they have a housekeeper, they have their own driver, and they have an art tutor for the son and a maths tutor an English tutor for the daughter. And when it comes to this poor family, you've got the eldest son. They're all doing their scamming, doing their part to try to make some money to make ends meet. They're a very close family, eat dinner together, and and you see a lot of the different sort of styles of family. Holy shit! Can you hear what's going on in the background of my house?
Yeah.
Right now?
What the fuck's happening?
Yeah. Do you know what's funny, Jared?
Someone
I saw
died?
Jared's texting me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. My brother and his fucking friends are being so fucking loud.
Go and kick him. Kick him out.
And yeah, yeah. Jared just texted me and goes, I think they're having an orgy.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just telling him I told him to shut up.
Ruining our fucking
sorry about this. Sorry about that.
film
Ruining the flow, especially when we're really deep, balls deep in film connoisseuring right now.
We are as well.
As I was saying, it kind of jumps between perspectives, and you see how different families are. But it also is a real impact on family. It's like, yeah, you've got these wealthy families, but they're not really close families. They're being rich. They've got all these things for themselves, and they have their own lives, and it's all very superficial, each of their lives, and they all have their own things they like and do, but everyone's got dark sides, right? Everyone has their own things that they're into, and then you've got the Kim family that's poor, but they're so tight-knit and so, together and would do anything to help each other, and they're not ashamed of their of themselves, but they're willing to do whatever it takes to get by. And the eldest son in the Kim family has a mate. He's at university, and he has a mate that tutors the 16-year-old girl. And he's talking about how he's going to date her and he's in love with her, and he's going to date her when she goes to university and officially ask her out. I'm like, Jesus Christ, are all Koreans pedophiles? No. I had to look up the age of consent, and the age of consent is 20 in Korea, so I was very confused by this.
Okay.
So the Kim lad becomes the tutor because the friend is going overseas for a year on exchange or something to finish university. So he becomes the tutor, and he starts coming up with a plan with his family to edge out each of the ones. So he plays like different ploys to. First, he gets his sister in to art tutor, but he the way he describes it to the rich mother, going, "Oh, I know someone. A friend of a friend who's a really great artist. It's actually his sister. I'll see if she's available. She's really hard to get as a tutor, so I'm not sure how it'll go." So they start making crazy amounts of money because they're both tutoring for the family, and then they like fake get the maid sick, like she's got some bad illness, so they get the mother to become the maid, and then they get the father to become the driver, and they etch them all out, and the whole family's now playing them for fools because they got to pretend none of them know each other at all. Meanwhile, the dad's like grabbing his wife's ass when he's supposed to be a maid, and the driver when he's bringing in groceries, like right behind the back of the rich wife. Hilarious. And the first half of the movie it's kind of funny. Like, it's so well filmed and so strange and different. Like, it's really enthralling, but it's quite a funny film. You're like, where's this? But the whole time you're like, what is this movie about? Where are we going with this? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where we're going. And at about halfway, 60% through the movie, there's this moment that completely shifts the movie. And I don't want to spoil it. I'm just going to say that they find something in the house, and the Kim family do. And so the rich family goes away camping, and the Kim family are all sitting there just hanging out at the house all night when they're not supposed to be there, eating all this amazing food they never get to eat, watching TV and watching this beautiful big yard out. And then this moment happens. They find something in the house, or someone shows up at the house, I should say, that brings up something in the house. And I was like, are we going horror here? It's not. It's just, I'll just say they're not the first family that has tried to play this rich family.
Okay.
So what happens with this poor class warfare comes back to bite them, because they're all fighting against each other to try to fit into this world, but at the same time, this rich family looks down on the poor, and that plays into it, and this over-exaggerated climax of the film occurs where crazy shit goes down, and it all comes together, and it's filmed beautifully. You could write a fucking beautiful film essay about this, about the way it's filmed and the way it depicts class and the way it depicts characters. It's an amazing movie. It is a must watch. There's a point in this movie where shit's going crazy. It is like a tense, crazy action moment, and something happens in it that I watched it with Jared, his girlfriend, me and my brother, and we were bursting out laughing. It is just such a fun film and a different film that you're so intrigued by it the whole time. You're like, where's this going? And then it gets and you're like, oh shit. It's an amazing movie. Parasite's up there with one of the best movies that's in these 9 for sure. It's all in Korean. You have to watch it in subtitles. But it's an amazing movie. Amazing movie.
Yeah, sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's very good, but definitely worth a watch. Watch the trailer, James. I'm telling you, you'll want to watch it.
All right, I'll do that after.
You'll want to watch it. Yeah. But yeah, that's all 9 films. Those are the 9 films.
Wow.
I hope if the movies you haven't seen, James, that I've broke down, or at least given you like a good preview of and what's good about it or bad about it, I hope lots of you that are listening, including you, James, go watch those movies, because all 9 of these movies are fantastic films and worth seeing. Definitely.
Great stuff.
The only thing left to discuss, James, is what's the best film of the 9? What deserves to be Best Picture?
Captain Marvel. You agree? Good. I'm glad. No?
I'm not talking to you about this. I'm not talking about this.
I was hoping to segue into some Captain Marvel chat, but I couldn't fucking do it. Every time. I give it a go every time.
Yeah, you do. You really try. And you know what?
I just love it. I just really like it, unfortunately. That's just how it be, Chief. You know what I'm saying?
I guess that is how it be. I do know what you're saying. I do get that is how it be sometimes. So I get that.
Exactly. That's how it be. Okay, what do you think is should win Best Picture?
All 9 films are close, yeah. Like, they genuinely are, right? Like, up there at the top, like, I'm not going to say what number 1 is, but, like, the 3 below it, right, are close in it. Like, I'd say Ford versus Ferrari, Jojo Rabbit, and probably Parasite. Like, they're movies that just stood out, that made me think about it. Including, honestly, Little Women kept me, like, I was thinking about that a lot after, for days after. I'm still thinking about the movie. That's a really fantastic film. It deserves to be, up there in the top half in discussions as well. Where it's interesting because the big movies, like the mainstream movies, like an Irishman or Joker or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they're the bottom half, of to me. Because maybe we see more of films like it. Like, we know what a Scorsese film is, we're used to it. We know what a Tarantino film is, we're used to it. Whereas a lot of these films of directors, maybe I don't see a lot of movies of theirs, or they haven't had as many movies. So it was quite a unique experience for me to see these types of stories and these types of movies. But as close as all the movies were, one movie to me was significantly above the rest as the standout, and I think you agree that the Best Picture is, to me, easily 1917.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement, for sure. Yeah,
it deserves to win every category it's nominated for. It deserves to win Best Picture. Best Director for sure, Sam Mendes. There was a directorial, more than just a cinematic triumph, that's down to the director. It's a directorial triumph of a film. And it's a masterpiece, and I think it's clearly the Best Picture. Like, before I saw 1917, Jojo Rabbit to me was like the Best Picture. Like, it was my favorite of all of them. And even I was shocked at how, even though Ford vs. Ferrari was the last movie I saw, I watched it probably 3 days ago, and I was like, holy shit, that's like a legitimate contender, which I didn't expect it to be at all. Like, I was like, a racing film? No way. But that's like top 3 of the movies here, for absolutely, like, a close contender, and deservedly so. Like, if Ford vs. Ferrari won Best Picture, I wouldn't be upset about it. I feel like if it did, people would be, simply because they probably haven't seen the movie. But that's a really great one. But 1917, I think it's a clear cut. I really do think it's a clear cut.
Unlike the cuts in the film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Those are unclear.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you so much.
It's a great film. It's a fucking great film. It's one of the best films I've seen in a very long time. It's a very different film. It does a lot of new things. The performances, the use of audio, music, the camera work, everything comes together to make this film easily one of the best films I think I've ever seen, ever, actually. Which is quite a feat. So yeah, I think this easily deserves to win, by a long shot, really, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Oscar special of the Cinema Room. I'd like to think we can do this next year. Okay, yeah. What do you think will win?
I think 1917 will win.
Think it'll win?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I really
think
do.
I think it's got a very good
chance. It won the Golden Globe.
Okay.
Like, it won the Golden Globe for Best Picture in its category, and then I'm trying to think what won the other one. Because there's two in Golden Globes. There's 2 categories, like drama, and then there's like musical, comedy. trying to think what one.
Did it win that too?
I think Jojo Rabbit won. I think Jojo Rabbit won that.
Okay.
I think I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jojo Rabbit won that one.
Okay.
Which rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think 1917 will win, and I think it should win.
I hope so.
I think it's that far of a, and I think Sam Mendes will win Best Director too.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, there's an issue. There's legitimately a fucking issue.
Yeah, I think it's such a different film.
But then again, these award shows don't really matter. All I appreciate from the Oscars in this moment, really, I don't give a fuck. Who cares? And they're also all bought and paid for most of the time anyways. But what I love that it does is it brings up and highlights great films. So I got to watch 9 amazing movies.
Yeah.
In spite of what wins, it doesn't really matter to me. I just got a chance. I had so much fun in this episode of Cinema Room. I love talking about all these different films because they're amazing movies. I enjoyed having to see all these movies and then getting to come and discuss them. Beautiful films. Beautiful films. I love movies. I love going to the movies. I love watching movies. It's my favorite thing to do. So this was just a joy to do and to be able to talk about all 9. Sure, I know like The Irishman and 1917, they all deserve their own Cinema Room episodes, but we still got to really spend a lot of time on them, and I got to picture movies that James hadn't seen. I'm happy. I would like to do this every year. I would be happy if we did this every year.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I enjoyed the lead up to it, and I enjoyed, obviously, the podcast itself. So let us know if this is something you'd want to see every year for Oscar special, where we discuss what the best picture is of the year. But yeah, that's this episode of the Cinema Room. Let us know whether you want to send us on Twitter or you're watching on YouTube or on Patreon. Let us know what your pick for best film is. And again, if you're listening on any podcast service, give us a 5-star rating or go fuck yourself. And write a really nice review about how fucking awesome we are. As well, that'd be ideal and great. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cinema Room Podcast. James,
but actually, here's an idea. What I want you to do over on iTunes for the Cinema Room Podcast, go and write us a review, but I want to make creative, right? So I want all of you to do it from the perspective of Martin Scorsese. Give me your best Martin Scorsese review of the Cinema Room Podcast over on iTunes. Gets you engaged, gets us reviews, and also there's some laughs in there. Maybe we'll read them out at some point if I remember that we made this a thing.
Yeah, how about we read them out on, maybe not the next Cinema Room because we'll probably be recording it before this is out publicly, because we'll be recording it next week, which will be decided on in a Patreon poll. Whether we're going to do it. So we've got the next 3 Cinema Rooms are You Season 2, The Mandalorian, and The Witcher. But Patreon is going to decide what order we do them on.
I reckon Witcher will win.
Next. I reckon too. It's also what I wanted to do next anyway.
Yes,
but
I'd like
let's do a poll anyway, just in case.
Yes,
and that'll also decide whatever comes second, we do next and third. You know.
Yeah. All right,
I expect it'll be Witcher, Mandalorian, you. Either way, but
expect that too.
But and then we'll. I'm sure there's plenty of new shows or movies by then that we can talk about in the podcast by then. That's the next 2 months of Cinema Room sorted out, at least from this point for 2 months. So, so for sure. But we'll definitely read out those reviews. Probably on the 3rd episode of the year. So, not the next one, the following one.
Okay, cool. So it'll probably be on The Mandalorian.
Probably be on The Mandalorian. That's a guess. You never know what happens.
Yeah, you don't know.
You Season 2 might get the second most. Yeah. All right, over to you, James. Let's wrap this podcast up.
Great stuff. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, Real Cinema, in Hawkins, A.K.A H12, and Seth. You're all bloody fantastic. If you want to get early access to this podcast, because it comes out a week early over on patreon.com/, as always, you can head over there, and for just $1, you can get access to that a week early. If you like hearing us talk about cinema, that'd be great. But also on top of that, you get exclusive access to the Clubhouse podcast, which is on every week that the As Always podcast isn't on, the same week that Cinema Room goes up to the public. So that's another thing. This is the best podcast on the internet. It's the best thing that we do, and you don't want to miss it. And that's available for just $1. You get 75 plus episodes of the greatest podcast ever for just $1 a month. That is incredible. Plus new podcasts, new episodes of that every 2 weeks. So you don't want to miss out on that. It's bloody great, as well as exclusive access to anything else me and Tyler do together, as well as big projects and things like that. We're going to be putting more up from our main channels early on Patreon too from time to time. So there's plenty of stuff going on over there. So you don't want to miss that, as well as helping support us. And to thank everybody in the $5 plus tier, we have got Josh Devillier, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, Real Cinema in Hawkins, aka HBars12, Seth, Ballsack47, Casey Wood, Pink Flame through and 3, Adam Sundling, SupterTuberEddie, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Jesper Olsen, Lumistrad, DIDDLOTIC, Mary380, Cock, The Creed, Brendan BQ, Overlord, RAVJAI.
Cock?
Every time. I'm never going to be able to say that.
I love it. And the fact it's Logan Paul's face and it's only us that can see it.
Yeah.
That's my favourite. But honestly,
without
that, it wouldn't be as funny.
Yeah,
without that, it wouldn't be as
Logan Paul's face, and the picture's fucking stretched. It doesn't fit in the box.
Yeah, I love it so much. There's so much shit in that name.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
been up. That's our best patron of last year. That's the winner to me. Of best
I don't even know
patron
who that is. I don't know who that guy is. If you are Cock, Logan Paul guy, just tweet us or something. I want to know who you are. Where was I? Fuck. Brendan BQ Overlord, RAVJAI, Ikraik Gaming, Benedict Parker Returns, Max H, Gene, Owen Brayne, Zeek Collins, Son of Bitch Ogeaidogo, Noah Watts, FuriousCoco, Sab2557, Nick Miller, the ACMJS, Travonoski, Kacper Korol, Kassassin, Kyle, S. Shores, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Ginko Swag, That's How It Be Sometimes, Master Bass, Ashton is a big fan of Mace Windu the character, Amir the Synth Potato, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Joe A.K.A FoundedScarab, Iron Man's for the Dads, Luca, Alfie Robert, Brian Ford, Fishy, and Ben Fryer. Thank you all so much. You're all bloody fantastic. You can join them for just $5 or more. You can join that list over on patreon.com/as always. So go and check it out. There's a link in the description if you're listening on YouTube, or just go over to Patreon yourself. Give it a check out. See if there's anything that takes your fancy. You might find there is, and then you might become a sweet vintage lad too. You never know. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Cinema Room on the Oscars. See you in 2 weeks for the next one, which, like we said, is voted on by Patreon. So it could be any of the three, being Mandalorian, The Witcher, or You Season 2. So we don't know, but it'll probably be The Witcher. That's my guess anyway.
Probably. But again, you never know.
You don't.
Patreon could really fuck us over.
They could.
What a bunch of cunts
could.
they are. I mean, sorry. Go pledge. Patreon.com/as as always. Follow the As Always Twitter account at As Always Ent.
Oh, yes.
ENT. New Twitter. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Go check it out. And just follow us on Twitter. Me at Tyler Tarnamite. James, don't worry about it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Cock.
See you later, boys.